Welcome to Reality After Show coverage of the Challenge All-Stars 4s. Today we are talking episode 9, Waiting for a Star to Fall. I'm Dan Montchal, joined as always by my ride or die, Alex Trias and Lauren Pratt. Alex, Lauren, what an episode.
I too am constantly waiting for a star to fall into my lap. After winning a third of the episode's worth of challenges where I could put myself in at any point in time, but it's not balls in, so I'll wait till it's my time. There's going to be another chance.
Because there's always another chance. There has to be, right?
Yes.
We were hard on Avery last week. I think this one may be more egregious.
Of course. It definitely
especially when you get like the context from, you can only depend so much on the peanut gallery when it's involved here. But there was Ryan was on like one of the podcasts and he mentioned that it was him and Nicole who talked her out of going in at the last second. Like she was going to do it, but then they both told her like, don't do it because of her height or whatever. It would have been a challenge to do this type of comp. Whatever. Either way, that actually makes it worse, in my opinion, that you don't go down there. You can't talk the talk this whole time. I don't even care if they both get to the final at this point. I don't care if Laurel beats Cara in the final at this point if they do it. Like, you've been talking your shit for episodes now. You were talking your shit in the preseason trying to devilize and make Cara this like persona non grata. Like, you were doing all of it to then let a couple people or your own ego get in the way of you actually doing what you set out to do, which is take out Cara Maria. It's weak.
Well, it's even worse when you're coming from Laurel because, let's take a little trip back memory lane. We're going all the way back to free agents where Jordan, infamously makes his move to go down against Bananas. It didn't go well for him. But when Jordan's starting to have doubts, being like, hey, I don't know if I should actually do this. I'm assuming because he knew the wall was coming because it was a fixed schedule. It's Laurel who, that's all that he's waiting for is for Laurel to say, don't go. I want you to stay in this game a little bit longer. And what does Laurel say to him? Be like, no, if you say you're going to do something, I respect and I'm attracted to people that actually go ahead and follow through with it. Well, Laurel is put in a very same situation here where she would have been critical of Jordan, only to not do it.
Right. It was just a bad look.
There's going to be
another it makes more sense. Yeah, where it makes more sense because Jordan didn't have to do it to get to the final. Laurel needs a star.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the whole issue I have is too, that comp would have been just fine. I get the height thing maybe, but also not really at the same time. I think it would have helped with leverage of being able to poke the balls down to the end. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I
don't know.
You can't wait for a headbanger. You can't wait for
This brings up another point though. Because we love talking about the overrated, the underrated. Like, is Laurel starting to expose herself as maybe not the elimination person that everyone imagines her to be?
No, she has too good of a record. And
but when you are that type of person, you're that bitch. Like, you should be able to. You've been making your claim for weeks. You should be able to go in. Does not matter what it's not even like there was a puzzle. Like, it'd be one thing because I'm like, her weak point in the last couple eliminations she's been in have been involving with puzzle related portions, whether it's solo, whether it's solo or as in a pair. And Cara's average at the puzzle. She's better than what she was in the beginning of her challenge career. However, this is one where I'm like, you should be able to beat her. Like, you have more of the athletic background. Sure, you're longer, but that also means you probably don't have to go all the way to like the back of the cage to bring the balls down, all that stuff. Like, I think she gets in her own head though recently. In recent years, doesn't matter what the competition is, even you can go as far as War of the Worlds. She got into her own head. She was thinking she got it, she didn't get it, and then cost her. Like, so I feel like there's also a little bit in the back of my mind where she's like, does she make the same exact mistake that Cam makes in this episode? in this.
I don't think she's in her own head. I think her mistake here is Nicole's in her head. And if Nicole's in your head, that just spells danger because
You
Nicole
just
shouldn't
need
even be in
something
her own
physical.
head.
You need physical. If it's not physical, don't go down there.
Well, Nicole clouds her judgment right now, so that's just not helpful in general.
Yeah. Yeah, spoiler alert, everyone. We're talking about the main part of the episode first, because the rest of the episode is going to be like probably me shitting on Flora and Veronica.
So starting at the top, we get the previously on. Cam won, the elimination, so Cam gets to do it. But it was really weird because it really had nothing to do about Cam. It was all about Cara and Nicole. And then the thing that I thought was ironic and funny was Cam said, oh, Laurel's down there playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. I was like, yeah, no, she's not. She shouldn't.
No. Laurel's not a board game person. She isn't also like a strategy person. Like, that's not what she enjoys. Like, you're telling me that she spent time to sit down and learn how to play a game of chess where you have to be strategic and not making emotionally charged decisions on spur of the moment, like outbursts, like of whatever happens, like, oh, one move that I didn't expect to happen, so now I'm just going to completely destroy the board. Like,
oh, she's throwing the board, like she's swiping it across the table off, and
correct.
Now nobody can play.
Don't play Monopoly with her.
Oh God, no. But Laurel's such a plan person. Once a plan's in place, stick to the plan. Nothing else is changing. You can't change my mind. So chess is not the game for her.
It is not.
But also, it's Cam also trying to drive the narrative that like, oh, Cara came for me first, so like, like karma's a B, so now I get to take your star. I'm like, Cam, we know it. I understand that Cam's a very proud person. Honestly, I respect it. That like you just double down. But I'm like, Cam, we all know. Like, just say what you want to say, which is, I always saw Cara as a threat going into this game. Sure, we are friends outside this show, but she is scary to me, and I need at all costs to have any type of excuse possible to go after her. That's all you needed.
Right. We just want them to own it. Just own it completely. Flat out say it, as you said. But I have to say, I love that it didn't work out for them in this episode. It just was so fitting for how the season's going. You know what I mean? I enjoy it backfiring. Any plan that they had for this current episode not working in their favor, and it was just chef's kiss. Beautiful.
It's honestly thankful for the season. Like, if you're the producers, like, what is the story if Cara's not there? Like, that's what I'm extremely curious on. What, like, they must have had like every single time Cara's down in elimination for the rest of this season. Anytime there's any type of thing that could like potentially remove her from the show, I'm like, they must have all been thinking, well, shit, like, what are we going to, like, what are we talking about here? What's our B plot? What's our C plot? Are we really going to now have to spend half the episode actually showing Nicole and Laurel fighting and then making up and fighting, then making up, and then the rest of the house is just there? Because that's sort of the impression that I have at this point, especially with Cam gone now. It's like you have a bunch of people who are there, and then you have the Cara storyline encapsulating all of it, and then you have Nicole and Laurel, who are now really they're really a side plot. Like, they don't show it. They had it early on. They showed a couple scenes of them together. Now it's like basically nothing. It's just something that's there.
The Adventures of Handjob Steve and Ace. That's what we get.
Honestly, I like that more than the hearing more reasons why people are targeting Cara. Like, did you guys see the clip from Challenge Mania when they had Adam on and why he's saying the house and specifically him was going against Cara Maria?
I have not, no.
Essentially, it lays down to he didn't like that Cara Maria has a fan base. And without, using his own words, I'm going to use my own. He essentially was saying that he doesn't like that Cara is a strong, independent woman who can speak up for herself. and has a huge following.
But everyone has a following, you know what I mean? And
Not
she
as
hasn't
big as Cara Maria's.
Right, no, not as big as hers, but she hasn't been back for a while. Everyone was excited for her to come back and see what's changed with her, which I think better than ever almost right now.
But it's like when you hear stuff like that, though, it really drives home to me. Again, like it's using outside stuff and after the fact stuff, but even the fact that it's over a year and people are still talking in this type of way, I'm like, they're all in the wrong. Like, I don't care what they're showing me on the show of what they are saying. Like, oh, Cara's doing this, Cara's evil, Cara's doing all these manipulative things. I'm like, I highly doubt it. Like, there's nothing that they could really show me that shows that she's actually in the wrong here.
I think it's way more ego based on that, not just for the obvious reasons, but you think about it. Look at the first 3 All-Stars. There was 1 or 2 people that was coming back that we hadn't seen in forever that people got really excited for. And we would have had some of those, potential people this season, but it all got overshadowed because it was the return of Cara. And I think if you're Adam, someone like that, is we're not talking about the subplot of, oh, Adam's back in the game for the first time in 15 years because everything's so much smaller than, oh my God, Cara's finally back on her screen.
There's something that I think also needs to be said, and for people like Adam is, you're smaller for a reason.
Agreed.
Maybe you weren't ever that exciting. You may be good at competitions, but maybe you've never actually been that exciting to be a focal point on a show.
No, he was just good at missions.
And apparently meditation weird intros like he was last week.
Because you have to look at this aspect too. Production wants a storyline. They want someone that is going to be able to drive their season time and time again. Seasons that Cara has been on, she has been a huge focal point for that specific season. So step up, do something different, make your storyline known if you want the spotlight. The reason why she has the spotlight is because they can create something around her.
Mm-hmm. And I'll go one better. Maybe don't do all this preseason prep of trying to sabotage Cara right before it ever happens. Because Laurel, like it all stems from Laurel. Laurel, you know Cara better than everyone, and you know the show and how they love to put Cara in the light of the underdog, the her against the world. You are creating the exact thing that you are trying to get rid of if you're an Adam and like all the like background characters. You're like, I want to have more of a focal point. So in order to do that, we're all going to target Cara without ever any of them thinking like, maybe I would actually even get even more screen time if I, one, just let them exist and let the main people who want to fight each other, or 2, join the other side. Because how exciting is it for you to be in if there's 14 people at the house at the beginning of the episode? It's essentially a 11v3, really 11v1 with Handjob Steve and Ace in a world.
Well, that's what I was going to say is join the aura. How much has Handjob Steve's stock risen this season because he's just been a decent ally to Cara? It shot up huge. He was an afterthought.
Not the only thing that shoots up huge.
Well, he's really good at his hand job, so he's quick and effective. He's he's like the Little Caesars.
He'll never put you on the edge.
Yeah.
There you go.
So and then you have Ace. Ace is like this person I've had this roller coaster trip of like there was this few episodes where I'm like, I don't understand him. He's not here to play the game. At least in an episode like this, he makes it like pretty clear because it's like Ace isn't someone who's gonna like try to like. He says what he says. He says it in an Ace way, but he's like, I'm siding with Cara because I've grown to really appreciate her, and I hate seeing people get essentially bullied. And they're obviously not going to show all that because they want some of these people to still be semi-likable so that they can keep bringing them back. And I'm like, okay, Ace, thank you. You did the bare minimum, and now I don't have to shit on you for this episode. Thank you, Ace.
I think another thing, too, having Jay there, because Jay's just definitely in a really hard spot because you hear Carr in the episode say, and sometimes I have Jay, because I do genuinely think he wants to be there for Kara, but the issue he has is Nicole.
Yeah.
And I still think he's always going to pick Nicole over her.
And Kara knows that.
And Kara knows that. But I think in his mind, he was hoping that they could have found some way to work together this season, and it just didn't happen for him. So then he feels in the middle between the two.
I feel like he would even accept at this point, like, okay, don't work with each other, that's fine, but like, just like be in your separate rooms. Be like, you go over here, you have this side of the house, you have this side of the house. So like, don't interact with each other, and then we're good, because then I can still have both of your sides. Like I don't know. I this season has really just proved to me for Jay that I'm like, he just is here trying to be a good ally for people. Like, he is literally just trying to go out of his way, be like, okay, this is a round where I can't really get anything to go my way, so let me try to protect the people that I do like legitimately have their back on in this season. Like, let me figure out some sort of way where I can make all parties happy, and they just don't let him in.
Well, he's trying hard to make it work, but you see, skipping into the episode a little bit, is Nicole such a child that she has to go out and confront Kara because no, she's talking to my friend Steve. It's like, what is this? Like elementary school? Like, no, that's my friend. You can't talk to him.
It is. Let's do that part because that's in the beginning. Let's Dan, break it down for us.
Yeah, we're not skipping.
I love that we talked 17 minutes of just general frustration before actually getting into the episode.
Yeah, so if we're just going the highlights before we get to that part of the conversation, you have the pool party where you just see more gross Nicole Laurel stuff. Flora is surprised she's still here. We all are.
Yes.
But are we surprised that Flora's here? Like, Flora, you're here because no one gives a shit. Like, they are taking out people that they see as threats for a final or have a star or is named Cara Maria, which is then both. I'm like, Flora, you are here because you are a bystander. You are just here.
I think it's just surprising that she's there because, like, it's just weird that she is. Don't worry, we'll tee you up for more Flora later, Alex. We're just, speeding through some of these few things. Ryan and Derek feel like they're playing a good game, but no, they need a star. And then the only other kind of big thing prior to the Cara, Steve, Nicole is Avery's talking about what this win would do for her because she can support her brother.
Which is such a shame because I still have her pegged as someone who does not get to go to the final. And even if she does, at this point, she could beat Nicole in the final.
So too.
She could beat Veronica.
I'm in my head canon, Veronica's the one who loses a star at like the very end. It's like I think at this point we're setting up for Cara gets to the final. Maybe not win, but she is getting there.
Yes.
Because also just how bad will their streaming numbers be for the 12th episode if Cara goes out like episode 11? Like you'll see a massive drop off in however you get those numbers because I know that ain't my thing. But
also it makes sense because if going to your point of we're assuming that Laurel some way somehow finds a way to get there. She already ducked Carl once in an elimination. There's no way she goes back to the house and gets the confidence in this season anyway to say, I'm going to go down and take my start from Cara. There's no chance it happens.
And it may not even be her choice. Like, Laurel's doing really good at the dailies, so it is possible that she gets to go and she gets to make that call. But I could see the rest of the house, at least maybe even some of the guys are the semi-allies of Cara, like the Steves, the Aces, even Jay at this point. Mm-hmm. Like if they're in a position where they're the ones who can control the voting, they may just like put the middle finger to her and be like, okay, you can come down here, but you're just going to take Veronica or Flora. Like, whatever.
Well, if you're doing it to protect
you would
Cara's
put Veronica in there.
You put Veronica with Laurel with Nicole. That way, Laurel has to save Nicole, and
then she doesn't have a choice.
Or I guess she doesn't. She could bitch out again, and Nicole could beat Veronica and give her a star.
Because like this group would be honestly ridiculous at this point if, like, let's say Laurel does like a similar thing as Cam and like puts herself at the bottom to get voted in. If any of these people in their right mind vote for them, honestly, I'm going to be at a loss of words for how much they can't, like, they're so scared of Cara. But I'm like, we're allowing these other people who are also challenge champions and also, or like final threats to just get handed stars. Like I don't know. I appreciate if people could just keep a buck and just be like, no, like, it's like you're putting it out there, like you're creating the thing that you're trying to avoid. It's like Cara's on this pedestal and then we're all down here. But like if you keep on allowing all these other people that the challenge fandom determine as the greats, you know, like Laurel is considered a great. Like she doesn't have a million championships, but like she has one. Everyone knows that she is a finals threat if she gets to touch a final. Like there's there's no difference there between her going and Cara going. So to actively avoid and try to get rid of one, but allowing this other one to just have like a walk to a final, just like it doesn't make sense to me. It's the same as letting Cam go. Like Cam has always done strong in finals. Like you were going to just let her have her star. Like she only goes down there through basically happenstance this time because everyone's like, yeah, why would we put Flora down there? And why would we put Veronica down there? We all want to run a final against those two. Like,
I think if...
Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm just saying, I think if Laurel is not in the first position of winning the daily, your option, if it is a possibility, put in Flora versus Veronica, because you still want to face one of those two in the final. If I'm a guy, of course, you know what I mean, and a girl.
Yeah. And
so
that's what
I think
Jay
that's
was
the best
pitching
option.
for. Like Jay was actively trying to pitch that because he was like, okay, that protects Cara. Cara doesn't have a star at this point, but like it protects her from going to elimination. It protects Nicole's star because, well, Laura wouldn't have taken it anyway, but regardless, it would have protected Nicole's star because there would have been a star in play with Veronica being down there, and then Flora's Flora. So it's like really Laurel could go down there and she would have done what she originally would have done, which is beat Flora at that point and then take Veronica's star. Or maybe we would have gotten the juicier option and she took Cam's star, which would have been pretty fun to see that be like a third, like a triangle point of contention between the three like top people. Like we missed out on an opportunity here because people couldn't understand that Laura would get cold feet.
Yeah, no, we missed out on a lot here. The more that I'm thinking about it, I'm just confused.
I think that's the title of this podcast episode. We are confused.
We are confused, but I'm just thinking more of like the entire outlook of the game. This is episode 9 to our best knowledge.
2 more episodes.
12
of
total
eliminations.
Yeah. And right now you have an odd number, like it doesn't work out. Because I would have thought going into this, okay, we were just going to see doubles from here on out.
I think what's going to happen...
We're going to have one more guys' day and then do a double.
Yeah.
That's just a ton of people that we're just cutting at the end prior. You know, you don't have a star.
I'm fine with that.
That's very like challenge 30 on coded, though. It's like they love doing that where they're like, oh, we're going to get close to the final. Everyone's like, oh, we're really down in numbers, but we still have too many for a final. And then TJ comes in and be like, oh, it was all part of my plan. Now we're going to lose half of you right here, right now.
Unless it's Final Reckoning, then no one goes ever.
But see, this is why I'm fine with the concept of it. Because if you don't actually really have to compete to go get your star because you have this many chances to do it, I want them to cut them out and be like, you had the opportunity. You didn't put yourself down. You didn't win the dailies to earn a star.
But the issue is the people that are getting cut out are the guys, essentially.
Well,
like,
yeah,
the girls, they're like, no one actually is being cut out. Like Laurel can't claim to being cut out because like she's had 3 opportunities to put herself down there and has chosen to ice herself out of elimination, which is why I think that's exactly how it's going to go. Dan's next week will be a guy's day, and then the
final.
following week will be at least 2 people going, if not 4. Because if 4 people go at that point, that gets us to 8, and then there's like 1 remaining guy and girl who don't have a star, and then they're like, well, sucks to be you. We're going to go to the final now.
Yeah. No, it just seemed like we're cutting a lot of people, but whatever. That was just something I was thinking aloud on my head. But anyway, Nicole's mad at Cara because she's talking to her friend Steve. And
how dare she?
All I have on my notes here is Cara just keeps saying Nicole, 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 where she says, "Oh, I'm going to choke on your name." And I was like, well, that just sounds like, Nicole's wet dream over here.
Well, I will say, I did like Nicole's comeback of, well, you know what? You better hope you don't, because none of us will give you CPR. Yeah, I was like, you know what, Nicole?
Ace would. He's just, we don't know where he's at.
No, he's passed out on the couch. He's incapable at this time to help someone if they are choking. But it's just funny because all of Nicole's confessionals and all of Nicole in the house is constantly going to Cara being like, keep my name out of your mouth. Where it's like, at the very least, the most that we hear her say her name is like, to Laurel saying Nicole's not good for you. And then to Nicole, you are an idiot. Because like you put your star at risk. And people are taking word. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'm skipping to the next beat here.
Go ahead.
Because they're talking in the kitchen. Flora doesn't like the fact that Cara calls, like, Flora's new daughter, Nicole, an idiot. And I'm like, if these are the words that you guys are using, it's like galvanize the troops to go after Cara Maria because she says all these despicable things. She's talking behind all of our backs. She's trying to manipulate it all. And she called Nicole an idiot. I'm like, well, one, of all the claims, like, sure, manipulation, whatever, like, we aren't seeing it, but I'm like, cool, go off. Like, yeah, go after her. But, like, the ad is, like, the focal point, like, and she called Nicole an idiot. I'm like, what is this? Like, Dan called it elementary school. This is preschool. Like, this is, like, if this is what you are saying in the challenge house is like, I can't live under these conditions because someone called me an idiot. I'm like, I don't know how any of these people listen to anything about their show after the fact, if they do, or live in the real world. Like, if being called an idiot is this thing that like you can't move on from to the point where you have to go into confessional and do your one of 2 things you're ever capable of saying, which is either I shit once, but then remember my daughter faces people 10 times her size in tennis, or if it was up to me, I would put Cara Maria on my knee and then I would spank her and then I would take her toys because she is a crybaby and her BDSM wear and her pirate hat because she called Nicole an idiot. I'm like, girl, why are you here? You are a waste of space. I would rather have Anissa here.
And that's saying something.
So speaking on that, question for the group, because this is technically, I know none of us really remember it, but Flora's, return, her homecoming back to the game. Is Flora the most disappointing, return to the challenge we've ever seen?
She's not even the best on this season. Bring back.
No, I'm saying the worst. The worst that's ever been brought back. I'm not talking for all stars. I mean, from someone who was once on the show that then had a long layoff and comes back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because what? Like, we start with like the Durrells, right? Like,
right.
Durrell has the long lead time. Brad comes back. Derek.
Laterian was long too, right?
Yeah, Laterian.
Yeah, Laterian.
Yes.
Tech. Like, yeah, but like she's definitely up there. There was the one girl who quit in the first season, like the one that was like sort of out there. I don't remember her name, but
I
like
can't remember it either.
she was the one that she was like,
yeah.
okay, leave. Hope to see you never. Like,
I
she's
guess
right up. Like
she's
but even that's a memorable moment. Like that's a memorable moment. Even if I don't remember the name, I remember it happening.
but
You,
that puts her in contention for the simple fact that we can't remember her name.
yeah, it puts her in contention. But next season comes around, heck, Challenge 40 comes around, I'm gonna forget that Flora existed. Like, I'm mad now in real time because she's just an extreme waste of space on a cast that, for the most part, I've enjoyed, even if their gameplay isn't great at all. But I'm like, she's literally just a person there. Like I make the joke that Ace is just a dude. Ace at least like has the knowledge that he is in fact in a game. Maybe he's not there to win, but like he is there in a game, and he's still gonna be a good person about it all. Whereas Flora, I don't know. There's just bits of her that I'm like, it's sort of she comes off a little nasty to me.
Well, it shows you too that it's not rigged, because if it was rigged, Floor would not be on the season anymore.
She's very making a Survivor reference, Missy from San Juan del Sur, like very protective of, her people,
her
but
daughter.
completely hypocritical on all accounts. And
but actually think that she should deserve to still be there. Because I think in her mind, she believes she's done something on the season, Flora, but she hasn't done a damn thing.
And speaking of hypocritical, we have Laurel here saying that Kara hasn't figured out how you come off is just as important of how you compete in the game. I was like, that is rich coming from you, Laurel, because if there's one thing we know about you and your entire challenge career, you've never realized how shitty you come off to everyone.
Or
ever.
even if she is like cognizant of it at times, it's the more of that her response would be like, well, I don't care how people view me because what are they going to do about it? I'm this dominant force. So it's like, it doesn't matter what people think of me. I'm just going to go about my thing. But it's also hypocritical because she's the reason, like she is the reason from preseason that Kara's in the situation that she's in. Like she's going bad-mouthing Kara to everybody, like calling her a loser, calling her like she's like insufferable, she's such a crybaby, she's woe is me, blah, 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 blah. But then also being a little bit two-faced and trying to be her friend at the same time. I'm like, I understand it's a rivalry, and that's what she's been trying to preach in her like social media. It's like, no, that's like, it's all like, that's what a rivalry is. Like, even I'm like, but rivalry also sort of has a little bit of respect to it. And it's just this specific season, there's just no respect there. Whereas like we only see from Kara, she's like, look, like I'm pissed that this is happening. Like this puts me in a bad spot in the game. But like, I respect Laurel. Laurel's a great competitor. I wouldn't want to be in elimination against her where it's like, I don't know. We're being painted a picture that's weird from people that are unreliable narrators. So I'm like, I
it's
just don't
tough when she describes as this is what a rivalry is, because what we didn't see when different parts throughout challenge history, where if you just use Bananas, West, and CT all had somewhat rivalries at one point in time in the show. When those rivalries were in full effect, you never really saw them going like, I'm really struggling in this game. Like, let me go talk, Bananas, let me go talk to Wes or CT about how I'm struggling in this game, or vice versa. Like, we never saw that. So that's just what really makes it weird, is because Laurel is the one that wants to blur these lines so much, but also wants to be able to shit on her and have her way.
Right. Which is why,
regard.
like, I respect more, even though I don't respect, like, the way it was done about it, like, the Cam way. Whereas, like, you hear Cam at the beginning of the episode at the pool party, he's like, hey, we may not all like each other at this point in time, but, like, we all do have love for each other. Like, this is a game at the end of the day. And, like, that part, it is what it is. But we are, like, a unit in that way. Where it's like Cam, I always respected because I'm like, no matter what she says, like you can sort of see the underlying thing of like it's all about the game there, and then like she'll deal with the aftermath and the aftermath. but at some point in time she will deal with it. Whereas like with Laurel, it's like she can't separate the game from her reality. Like, so it's like the emotion aspect of who she is as a person always bleeds into the game and isn't separate. It's part of why she gets asked back. It's why she comes back. Is like production's like, there's a gold mine there. Whether we like her or we don't or can't stand her, like that's what makes her a compelling reality TV character.
Well, if we're looking at the respect component from Cam, just fast forward to elimination real quick. Hugged it out with Kara before, hugged it out with Kara after. There was the respect there, knowing, hey, we're going to give them a good show with this elimination. So even though they've been at each other's throats throughout the season, Cam still had enough respect for Kara to be like, all right, let's do this. Like, we're competing against each other, but good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. So let's talk daily. Daily is run the plank. You're playing this in pairs. You're climbing a ladder, jumping out onto a ball. If you pull it down, it's slowly going to lower your puzzle. Once your puzzle hits the water, you go to, take 2 stars out of a maze and place them on a platform. Fastest. There are 2 heats, but unlike some of the ones in the past where, winners move on and losers are out, it's just strictly time-based.
Yeah, which I don't know. I always feel like I go back and forth between what I feel about like running in tiers and whether it should be like winner of the heat or overall time. I feel like they made the right decision here with the overall time, but it just put the first group at such a disadvantage. It doesn't help that they had all the people that were scared to jump in the first heat too, as opposed to like the second heat, which just had I think just overall the more athletic and quick people.
I think it makes it more palatable if there was you win an elimination or you won the daily the time before that you get to make the order. I think that makes it make more sense because you won something that you get to kind of, say you're Laurel here and she wants a star. If you won the previous daily, which she didn't, but for argument's sake, she did. I get to make the order this time. That way I can set myself up to go get a star. I think that makes more sense when you're going to do this type of style of daily as opposed to everything's a random draw for where you go.
Right. But yeah, the first heat is
awful.
Yeah, you said it. Embarrassing.
Very, very not satisfying.
Like the call outs
on...
are Handjob Steve being very good with balls.
With having Flora as a partner, like dude was just jumping and hands all over those balls.
Like, okay, sure, you got second out of 3 because Cam, which I think some people don't understand fully, that postpartum like anxiety that like new mothers get, like, because we've seen it I think a couple times on this show where it was like, especially something like water-based, having to constantly jump, and which is dangerous. It is dangerous no matter how much they try to show like, oh no, it's safe. That fear of just like that unknown of like, if the wrong thing happens, now you're essentially abandoning your child to the free world, like this, and you will no longer be there to protect them. So like I didn't like that she didn't attempt, but I understood it. And honestly, if I was Flora and Veronica, I would try to figure out some similar excuse to not have to jump and do all that stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what postpartum depression's like.
I don't know either.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna comment on, if it's a real thing and it's what she's feeling, then I'm not gonna knock her on that because it's something I don't understand and probably never will. So it's just
this one's not enough.
It's just
I
tough.
was fine with it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It just makes it kind of tough because it's like, okay, but if you're just jumping in, like, you don't have to go jump for the ball. It's just let Leroy go. But like I said, I don't understand it, so I'm not going to knock it.
Well, yeah, it's like I also feel like when you're Cam, you're not going to do that. Like, if I'm competing, I'm competing. So I am going to go for the ball. I am going to do all this stuff. Like, I know I'm going to, because like we've seen her compete. Like that, it's not like suddenly heights was always this thing that she couldn't overcome, which is why like it's more believable to me that it is very much impacted by the fact of just having a newborn baby and then like within months coming out here to do the show. So that's more of what I was speaking on there, because it's like for all of us who know Cam, like sure, she may not do great at every single daily, but we've never seen her like quit.
Yeah. I could also be in a combination, obviously, what she's going through with that, but I believe it was Jordan who was talking in some interview somewhere saying that maybe it gives a little bit more, credence to Darrell being so afraid of heights now. But it was Jordan, the one that voiced it, that's saying, honestly, the older you get, the more that you do it, the scarier it becomes, just simply because it's only a matter of time until like you get really fucked up and really hurt doing one of these challenges. And the fact that you've lasted so long and it hasn't happened means that I'm kind of due for
like,
it to
like
happen to me at some
the
point.
karma gods have been like banking and banking and banking, and at some point they're going to cash in. Like I can buy that a little bit. I'm still gonna give Darrell shit though.
My only thing I will say though is she did do the trivia thing, and that fall is a lot, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, if anything, that's scarier because it's like that you're out of your own power once
Exactly.
they happen, which is why I think it was just like a random happenstance thing of like it like kicking in, because now it's like that you could sort of argue is like, okay, that's against, I don't have control over that. I don't have control, so like production already has everything made, so it's in the spot that like you can convince yourself that you're in a protected spot. Whereas this, there is no harness, there is nothing there. You are walking up this very small, like it looks thinner than a 2x4 in terms of its width. It's like, and you're free falling essentially, unless you are able to grab onto that ball. And even then, you're still free falling.
Correct.
I think it probably also doesn't help the fact that she's partnered with Leroy, where I think if she, like with trivia, she was partnered with Steve, and you have more of that, like, oh, I don't want to let so-and-so down. But in her mind, like, she's with Leroy, who's obviously always going to have her back and understand, and it's a girls' day.
Right.
So,
and I think it happened in the moment, because I'm like, because I was debating, like, is it a smart idea for them to come together? And I'm like, it's only a smart idea if Cam and Leroy are partnering together because they fully believe they can win this challenge and then save both of their stars.
Yep.
So it's like, that's the only reason why you keep yourselves together. Like, if there's any moment prior to you getting to the challenge where you're like, I'm not sure about this, I don't think they would have paired up. Like, I think Cam would have had Leroy pair with someone else that she thought could win if she knew this in the back of her mind, which is, I think it just came on to her. But so that's them. They are automatically among the losing group. This whole heat ends up being in the losing group. So
yes.
Steve single-handedly gets his team second because he's like, I feel like I'm babysitting Flora here. Like, I'm just telling her to jump. All she has to do is jump. She doesn't need to attempt. She can't attempt even if she wanted to. And I'll single-handedly make sure that we finish. So, like, good on you, Steve. Steve, every week I'm like, you know what? I like Steve a little bit more.
Bring him back.
Keep rising.
And he is going to be back based off the All-Star rumors with 7 other guys and 16 girls. That's very interesting.
We'll talk after.
You know what? Honestly, I think it's because the challenge saw All-Star Sword like, oh yeah, it was carried by the women. So let's just really bet on those odds of the women just taking control of the season.
I do think just showing it's how bad, and it's not just the challenge, it's all reality TV shows the fan bases can like have happen, is because you'd see it was popped up that originally it was like Jay was supposed to be back on, and then it was like, no, he's, according to rumors right now, he's not out there for All Stars 5. And, just the online fandom that can't help themselves, that just don't even look at the picture and just start shitting on Jay Starrett. It's just like, yep, that sums up everything perfect.
I mean,
But second heat goes a lot better. We have,
wait,
our
how are
winners
you
and our middle group.
ignoring? How are you ignoring the best performer of Heat 1?
Cara and Ace.
Veronica. She touched that ball and immediately falls down. She
She
touches the
tried.
ball and then immediately falls down. Like, I, she attempted, but I'm like, and she's on the rumored cast for 5. But I'm just like, if you're honest and you're just saying you're coming there for a payday, I'll respect it more.
She's
Like,
been a dud since she's made her return, like back in 30. It's just
Yeah,
been a
nothing's
dud.
changed.
it's
It's still the
just
same
well,
Veronica. But
I
okay, look
think
at
things
this
have
though.
changed.
I will say I'm not trying to help her in this situation, but I do think length does matter
No,
with this
like
for
the
sure.
height matters
Yes.
in this challenge. Like Ryan said it was like Laurel in Heat 2 was like barely having to jump at all and like was able to like grab it essentially before even jumping off of the plank. Like,
And as much as I think she's maybe the worst version of it, but it's essentially it's Veronica and it's Derek, Kaczynski. They're both 3-time champs that took a long break off and they come back, and it's just been disappointing. They're just not what they used to be, and that's fine. It's what happens when you get older, but I don't think Veronica needs to keep being
well,
here time and time again.
I think it's very poor choice to like compare both of them. It's disappointing because like Derek comes back and immediately gets to a final. Like
I
he
said it
comes
was
back to
more of a
Dirty 30 and does it All Stars. He gets to the final, but like he's partnered with Yasela and gets last in that heat that like
Mhm.
sent someone home. All Stars 2 and 3, yeah, not the best showings.
I think it's somewhat similar because
Okay.
I mean, got to the final, it was just like it's never really a threat to win.
But he has
Like
that
like
heart.
like Veronica could potentially make a final this season. No one's actually going to think, oh, Veronica's going to win. Like if she makes it to the final, just pencil her in for whatever last place is, and which I get. That isn't Derek. Derek does have more of a fight and more of a shot at winning than what Veronica does, but I was just saying it's a similar archetype.
I just hate
Hmm.
comparing them though because it's just I'm with you, Alex. It's so hard to make that comparison, but I get the concept and what you're going for there. But
Yeah.
I can't get over Derek's drive and determination and the animal in him of wanting to destroy, whereas Veronica does not have that.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, she doesn't. She's self-preservant. So yeah, like she always wants to make sure she survives. And she's like, I'm trying so hard because I think my star's up for grabs. I'm like, girl, your star ain't up for grabs. Your star's only up for grabs if somehow 2 women are in the winner's circle, which is impossible. Like,
No, and I agree. Like I understand because Derek is a competitor. He's in a fight. We know that about him. Where Veronica's just essentially like she looks at the challenges now like it's her Thursday night wine night with the girls. Like that's just what it is for her.
yeah.
That's fair.
But yeah, see, Heat 2 destroys. They all beat out the rest of the field. So
Laurel and Derek win.
yeah.
Point out Derek was killing it.
He is. He's been killing it the whole season. He just doesn't have a star because it's like only killing it on girls' days, and then the guys' day he was like, you can make a case he probably should have put himself into that physical elimination against Steve if he was able to. That there was 2 that he could have put himself in that he didn't. It was that one. Then there was one that who was it that was in an elimination?
Was he up there for the ropes one?
He was up there for the ropes one with
Brandon and Leroy
Kifla
one.
and Brandon and Leroy, where I think we all said he should have put himself in elimination for that one.
Not the other one. That one would have been fine, but the other one I understand why he chose not to go in. You have no chance in that elimination.
Well, against I even could probably made a case that he could have went against Kifla and won because Kifla had a bad leg at that point.
he wasn't going to beat Steve just because Steve was bigger, and Steve does have the wrestling background where that came into so much of the grappling that. But even still, he goes in against Kifla, and he's given up what 65, 70 pounds there, even
Probably,
with the
but like
bad knee, like
it's me
that's
like
rough.
banking on a bad leg, like hindering Kifla from being able to perform. But whatever, he's doing well. We know that he's on the cast for season 40, and I think this is probably like a big reason to why they were more in consideration of having him like be in that era 2 group, was because of this type of showing.
I forgot that he was there too because he was on there in Cutthroat for a second, but
Well, it was enough to squeak in.
it was that was so what we have the middle group of being
The happy
middle
couple of
group of
Adam and Avery.
and Jay and Nicole.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other happy couple. Oh, and Jay not understanding why Nicole's doing so bad, and Nicole claiming that it's because she was throwing.
Maybe. I'm not
She
willing to
claimed.
See, she's claiming that after, because they do the confessionals after
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
And so she's 100% claiming that, like, just being like, no. The reason why I didn't do well was because I
I
was
needed
throwing.
Laurel to get the win.
Yeah, I don't, that's my issue, that they do film all this afterwards a lot of the time, because you don't get the whole actual thought process. You know what I mean?
I would have needed the scene where Laurel told her to throw it because there's no way
Like,
Nicole's smart enough to figure that out on her own. Zero chance.
No. But that's the situation we're put in, and so we know that of the losers, they can vote in Cara, Cam, Veronica, and Flora.
Yeah. Laurel says that it's either going to be Veronica versus Flora or Cam versus Cara, but she says she wants to go against Cara, wants to silence that ego. She's beat her before in the past and wants to prove it again.
And again, you beat her in something where you are an athlete going against her pre-CrossFit journey, or very early on in CrossFit journey in Balls In, and you beat her in a wall climbing competition with a broken arm. So that's not all what an elimination makes. It's just what I'm saying. And that also is, again, hypocrisy. You want to silence the ego while you're just pumping up your chest, pounding your chest, saying that, like, really boosting your own here.
Mm-hmm.
You lost a ninja.
I put an asterisk on that one.
It's still a loss because of her ego.
that one was iconic to watch, though. Just
It was, but you can't, like, it has to be a reset. That one I'm willing to defend more, because if they're both wrong, there has to be a reset, not just like once TJ blows the horn and it's like, okay, we're done. If you want to go back and do a reset, that's fine, but it can't just be a mad scramble. That one I'll defend her for.
But the result's the result, and it's all because of your own hubris.
Yes, but also she thought the result was done, because I agree with Dan. He did
hubris.
blow the horn, but again, she tried it out and she went for it, and then she ended up winning. So I guess if she would have just stayed down there and did nothing about it, they probably would have checked into him and been like, okay, this is what occurred. We need to reset and do this again.
Apparently it was all Theo's fault, because Theo's the one that noticed it.
Theo.
But nominations go pretty straightforward. Jay is the only one that doesn't seem on board with Cara versus Cam because he wants to keep Nicole safe, but doesn't really matter. Cara versus Cam. Cara's mentally preparing to go against Laurel. She sees right through it, being like, oh, so it's really going to be Laurel who's coming down, which I think we all assume is what's coming at this point for how much Laurel's ran her mouth.
I don't think it happens. I think they both make the final. That's what I've been saying. Like, I think they both make the final. They coin flip on who wins. Like, I think partially, just because it's the way that they edit people, and it's weird that Laurel's still gonna somehow like get to that final and win, but like Cara will get like second.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have
But
for girl winner picks?
well,
Kara.
Dan, I'm pretty sure had Rachel Robinson.
No, I had Kara because you gave me first pick.
I have
Uh,
Laurel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
She's good.
I either had Rachel or Cam. I think I may have had Cam,
I think you
which
took Cam.
based on performance, I picked the right person of the people that were available.
You still have your
But I
guy.
really,
Both of you have your
should
guys.
have made my guy pick Handjob Steve, even though my guy is still in.
I'd trade Adam for handjob Steve in a second.
Like, I like Jay. Like Jay does well. It's just that I don't know if he's gonna get a star.
He may not get the opportunity. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
the
say.
next time on is him saying, "Oh, I'm going down there." No matter
needs-
what. But like,
Well, we just saw, hey, I'm going down there, but they didn't go down.
yeah, but I
so-
think like he maybe has one where he could get voted in, not him picking himself to go in.
I think he's well liked that he has to go in and just throw it, being like, I'm probably not going to win because I always seem to come in second or third. Like, I'm just going to shit the bed and throw it that way and just hope that you have, because you figured he has 2 shots at it. So just throw the next 2 challenges in hopes that at least one of the
what are
two
your
can get
thoughts
thrown
now
in.
on Jay, Dan? Like we're now 9 episodes in the preseason, we're like, what the hell is this casting? Like, why are they bringing him back here? I don't know. I'm leaving this season regardless, being like, I'm happy that he got to have his second chance.
I'm pleasantly surprised, but being pleasantly surprised, I think it speaks much louder volumes to how disappointing this guy's cast is, which is the same thing with like Handjob Steve. Like he's probably like my favorite guy on the cast, him, Leroy, something like that. But I think he shines more because of overall the guys. Like there's been bright spots, but there hasn't been like that constant star throughout the season.
Well,
on the guy's side.
Here's the reality when it comes to the challenge. It's always been carried by the women. The women casting, for the most part, is deeper. Like there's such a deeper pool because of the fact that they would always, you couldn't rely on them to be like long-term faces. Like Kara is like a unicorn of the group, like having gone how many times she had gone. Nani too, once she made her comeback from her break. But really, a lot of them would only do like up to 5 seasons and then never come back. Whereas the guys, it was like, it's so top heavy. I'm ignoring that. With the guys, it's so top heavy because like you have CT, you have Bananas, you have Wes, and then it's like, okay, after that, you had a Kenny and an Evan for a time.
Even Leroy, who was a constant.
Yeah, but then you go, but he's not a like, oh, I can carry the show.
Oh, great
person. Like I'm talking about people that can carry a show. Like because then after that, you have like a Mark. Yeah, Derek semi can carry a show as long as he has like a second person with him. It's like the point being, it drops and it drops fast when it comes to the men. Whereas the women, it's like you had Kara. Kara can run it. Laurel can run it. Like Evelyn could run it. Paula could run it.
I mean, even Camilla could run it too when she was part of it. Or Ashley Mitchell too, same thing.
I completely agree with that point. I think it's just this is the first season in a what?
This is the first season where it's like more glaring.
It's more glaring, and it's because we don't have one of those guys that I think because there isn't a solid presence somewhere. Well, it's kind of just bouncing around.
And it's like when you start throwing away the rules of who can come on, it's like part of me, I'm like, I'm glad they didn't do this just because I needed see both of them do it by themselves. Was like, you could have threw Paulie into this group. And Paulie is a guy that you could put into the show and like can carry because his personality just is like, it forces it to happen. You know, but like I'm glad he isn't on this specific season because we needed to see Kara solo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when you don't have those people, like, and say what you will about him, but like even if like a Josh was there, like love him or hate him, like Josh has proven he can be in the forefront of a show.
There isn't, from this entire guys cast, there isn't that polarizing character. Even where, like you said, it could be a Josh, but we don't have that one person that everyone thinks of that's on the show, love them or hate them, where everyone in this guys cast is more of like, you kind of like them, you kind of don't like them, but they're more just like, they're there. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it also hurt with Tony getting pulled so early because he would have been the closest thing that we had to potentially having that on the season.
I would agree. Yeah. But okay, so we go to the vote. The vote happens. Like you said, Jay tries to pitch like, look, like the reason why I'm only pitching Veronica and Florida is because I want to protect your star, Nicole. But if you are good with it, then whatever. I won't pass, like, try to force something through. I'll let this happen, and I'm gonna hope that Cara survives, and move forward. So that ends up being the vote.
Yeah, that's the vote. Like I said, Cara's kind of at peace with it. With whatever happens, she has no issue going in against Laurel. And from what we see, is Leroy. It's the only one where the bells are kind of going up.
They let him have the soundbite
of being like, this just something doesn't feel right.
And it's him being the one who does the soundbite where you're like, oh, she's not going down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if it was anyone else, if it was like Ryan doing it or Jay being like, oh, I don't even think she'll even go down. Like, why would she? Well, like, she may just get cold feet. Mm-hmm. I would have been like, okay, there's some suspense of believability there. Whereas Leroy being the one who does it, I'm like,
just with Cam. At that point, it was just like, ooh, Cam's going in and she's going home, isn't she? Like when Leroy has that.
Which I really wished Cam wasn't still doubling down, though, of like being on the Laurel side versus being on the Cara side for the season. I'm like, because you saw the end result of that partnership of you and Laurel. Laurel fucked you over, and it's the reason why you're home. Like, she was selfish in that relationship, whereas everyone was calling Cam selfish because she organized the thing to get her star. I'm like, Laurel's the one who's actually selfish because the deal was first they'll help Cam get a star, then Laurel wanted to be the person who went in and eliminated her. But then Laurel gets the cold feet and backtracks in the confessional, be like, no, really, it's a win because Cam or Cara leaving is great for my game because that's one strong competitor out. I'm like, but if you go in and you believe that you're this person who can beat anybody at anything in elimination, you still get one of those two people out, and then you also get a star from it. Like, I can understand Cam's confusion because she's just like we are at the end of the game. Like, taking my star, whatever, it'd be like you're creating a situation now where sure one of us goes home, but that also means that we have a star and you don't, and you have all these other people who also don't have stars yet, and you think they're going to help you as much as I have the capability of helping you. It's like the confusion all around in this episode is like almost warranted because it's a decision that somewhat makes no sense.
Hoping Cam was going to be able to talk her into coming down, though, because you see her with the rebuttal back to her and explaining, hello, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And I just wanted to see about the other thing I would have loved to have seen as well, if Laura does change her mind and then TG being like, oh, wait, no, you already made your decision.
Well, no, he can't do that funny because of Nicole.
I know, but it would have been funny, though, because you then have that back and forth. Well, you let this happen, but then didn't let that happen.
Oh, and I would have. This would have been a different podcast if that was the scenario that happened.
Well, right. Let me help you solve some of this confusion because you're not paying attention to what everyone else is saying of who's selfish and who's not. Okay. Cara's the ones that's selfish. That's what everyone's saying because she wants to protect her star. Wanted to protect her star when she had one. So
Cam,
Laurel,
star.
And you know what, Dan? You're right, because also she called Nicole an idiot.
Yeah. How dare you? How
many triangles, Nicole?
all of us would be totally fine if that is the worst thing we got called was an idiot.
I've been called worse than that today.
Yeah,
We've
that's what
been
I'm
called
saying.
worse
Like,
than that in the comments on our YouTube channel.
that is facts. But that's what I'm
Mindless,
saying.
soulless, woke.
Call me an idiot all you want. I don't care.
No,
Like,
it's a good day if the only thing I get is someone calling me an idiot. I'm like, oh, I must have done
exactly.
something right today.
All
Whatever.
right, let's
Let's
talk
go to this elimination.
let's talk elimination. It's called Caged In. There's 2 giant mud pits where there's a cage over top of it. There's 10 balls that's in the cage. You need to work it down to the end of the cage where there's a hole in it. Once you have the balls free, you put them in a basket. First one to get all 10 balls in their basket wins.
Mm-hmm.
Laurel isn't coming down.
First point. Nobody's being hand job Steve at this comp if he was in here, right?
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
He would have been
maybe
done.
Matt Bischoff.
Nah, not enough pegs.
He would have had the magic fingers going, getting those balls all the way to the hole. Yeah.
Yeah, that's spirit fingers or whatever the hell it's called. Like Steve just
you
has
got
it.
it, spirit fingers. That's right.
That's just Steve.
It's like Leroy with the
log,
the pull challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nobody beats Leroy at that. Nobody's being hand job Steve when it comes to balls and cages.
Yeah,
of course not.
This, Devin may.
It's all about release,
Well, I just imagine because in the first episode of Ride or Die, Devin's like, "Oh, this is my coffee table." You could convince me this is Steve's coffee table. Or torture chamber. I
was gonna say
Steve has this somewhere.
It could be something
Steve has this
related in his house, in which case be careful. Don't let Flora come over here because she will take it away from you if you call Nicole an idiot, Steve. And then she will spank you. Which then why are you taking the BDSM stuff away is my other question, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know.
Seems like the kinkier the better.
We watched this elimination and really it would have been a neck and neck thing, but in reality, Cam should have won. And when you look at it in that context, like if I'm Laurel, I'm like, I'm watching this elimination just going the entire time. I should have put myself down there. I could have done this. We would be done.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. And this was one that was really hard to hide because it's a classic challenge of, Cam's winning and make you think, like she may do this. But as soon as you see the wide shot that she has balls that are down at the end, you're just like, it's over. Like Kara's doing it the right way. There's no way Cam's going to be able to get those balls down at the end back in time. It's a wrap.
Yeah, and then you have the Veronica confessional of look, I get it. This we're all trying to be quiet right now, so both of them could just focus. But Leroy, tell your wife or fiance at the time. I don't know if they're they keep saying they want this money for the wedding. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not married. You could always get married and then have a wedding after. But but regardless, your partner. Tell your partner that she has 3 balls at the very end of the cage still. I don't know what happened. I would love to know what happened in that mindset. Because I'm sure the water's freezing. I'm sure that messes up with what you're thinking, and you're at a point where you're just I want to get it all over here right now so that I can have a moment to get my head above the cage and not be in this muddy water. But she rushed. That has to be the only answer there is she rushed. She thought she hit all of them in a way that would get them all to go over. And maybe she did hit all of them, but a few of them moved back and she just missed it going back. But I'm I would have loved to still see you count them. You have all of them in this pile and you're oh, there's only 7. Where are the others?
See, this could have been, as much as he gets knocked for it, this could have been a good one where, if you're dating Jordan, because that man is a psychopath that would have been screaming the entire time.
Right. Well, think about this too. Veronica does have that confessional, but Veronica's also standing right next to Leroy. Hey, give him a little nudge.
She's not Cam's partner.
Well, I'm just saying if you're going
to look, Lauren, Veronica is terrified that even though Cam has a star, that her star is going to get taken. Which I would have also loved to see that scenario. The only thing that would have been interesting here was in a world where Cam beats Kara, if I'm Cam,
Nicole's.
You take Nicole's star and give it to whoever.
At that
Give
point,
it to
especially
Avery. Who knows?
no, she
Give it
would
to
no,
Flora.
no,
Who cares?
she did an interview. She said she would have given it to Flora.
Yeah.
Fucking dumb.
Well, what?
I get
If
it.
she's
I get
in,
it.
if she's in the final,
No, you have Flora
You
and
have to.
Veronica in the final. Yeah, no, that part I get. It's more me just being like, I don't like that.
it's especially you look at that in the current star holders. It's just like, well, you know, if it stays the way that it is, which we all know would change, but say that were the way it were to be, she's looking at herself, well, damn, me or Leroy's definitely winning this thing.
Right, like
Great shot.
It's because it's like everyone has a 1 in 6 shot, so like they would start out with like a 1/3 chance of winning, but then you have Veronica and Flora there. You're like, well, they both can't win, so you chuck them to the side.
50-50.
They're no longer in the odds. So now you just went from 33% chance of winning to a 50% chance of winning.
And are you really going to trust that you're going to lose to Handjob Steve?
I mean,
love Handjob Steve, but
he's done a better job than Cara has of protecting that star.
Well, they both won 2 eliminations.
They both went in twice.
Yeah, but he's never had his star taken.
I thought he did once. Am I wrong?
Didn't you get it taken? And then that's why he had to go back in? Or no, did he get he gave his star? No, he gave his star to Ace. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
He gave the second star to Ace.
Ace.
Yep. There we go.
Him versus Kefla.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Star.
Yep, we got it.
Right.
See, not only does he defend his star and keep his own star, he's giving stars away because he's just so good. Steve, the top player of All Stars 4.
Hell yeah, he is.
I love the meme of Steve, and I it's like those are the little things of the challenge I always love when covering. It's like you find these little things, and you're just like, you know what, we're gonna ride with this, and very fitting for a Handjob Steve. But
fan favorite, podcast favorite.
We have to get him on. We have to get him on. If he makes the final, I'll slide to the DMs. Be like, Steve, Handjob Steve, to be specific. We need you on the podcast to go over what happened on this season over a year ago.
I need it.
I think it might be a little while till we get to hear from him, though.
Well, apparently he's no longer in the U.S.
Might be in Vietnam.
We will have to see. But yeah, Cara wins, gets her star back. The end.
And all was right with the world. But don't worry, Laurel's like, there will be another opportunity. The great thing about the challenge is there's always a twist and a turn. I'm like, yeah, but you also know you're at the end of the challenge. The twist is you're at the final. Like, that's the twist. Like, I get what she's saying. She's like, she's probably like thinking there will be like one more girls thing because they wouldn't, in their head, they'd be like, they wouldn't let like half of the field just like vanish.
Mm-hmm. And
it'd be the final. So like, okay, we still have an opportunity for one more girls' day, but it is what it is. She probably will get it. And it's
gonna frustrate you.
Well, it's just like Laurel winning this season would just to me be underwhelming because it's not the story of the season. Like it's not the story where
Steve wins.
Oh, then the story has been told from the beginning.
Thumbs up both ways.
Best season ever.
Best season ever. I'll declare it right here. Handjob Steve wins All Stars. Dan Montchal will get Handjob Steve tattoo on his neck.
Maybe somewhere else. Who knows?
Ooh. He's not denying it. Unfortunately for this week, just because of the schedule and all that, I do not have a blind rank top 5. We will bring it back for next week's episode, but people in the comment sections, if you got, instead of like telling me and Dan how quote unquote woke we are, like if you want to be in the comments and tell us or tell me what you want us to blind rank next, please do. That will help me get some more ideas because I love doing them, but it's very complicated to make ideas for them.
Yeah, it'd be some welcome comments other than being described as mindless, soulless, woke, all those fun things, because I didn't say that the Swiftie should win, whatever.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, Dan, what can they expect from the podcast? How can they follow us? How can they help the pod? All that stuff to close this out.
Yeah, make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe to us, and that way you get notified whenever we go live, because there was a podcast this week that launched that I didn't even realize we were starting, but we have a lot going on at Reality After Show. Wendell, Bryce, and Derek continue to do their coverage of the GOAT, dropping podcasts weekly. At some point, I believe Johnny and George will be back doing Reality Kings, and launching this week. Apparently, it's Rachel Riley, good friend, from the Traders, as well as Jen Hoffman are doing Reality Queens. And I think we still have a few other podcasts that should be launching soon. So make sure that you like and subscribe. That way you get notified every time we go live. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, please, please, please take the time to rate and review us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. As always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. Sign up for a month. We have a lot of fun and exciting things coming. If you don't like it, Johnny will give you your money back. And then, of course, myself, Alex, Lauren, we will all be back next week to cover episode 10 of the Challenge All-Stars 4. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week.